All right, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. I'd like to call the January 6th, 2025 regular council meeting to order. If everyone could please stand, I'm going to ask Councilwoman Moranti to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. At this point, we do have a couple items that need to be added to the agenda. Would someone care to make that motion? Anyone?
Mr. Chair?
Councilwoman Christopher.
Yes, I will make the two motions to add. Motion number one, motion to approve and authorize the town manager to execute the hold harmless and access agreement regarding 0 North Washington Street, Plainville, Connecticut, map block lot 25-C-2. And number,
Sorry.
I was going to do them together. Can I
Yeah,
do
that's
them
fine.
all?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you want to do them
Sorry,
together, that's
Deb.
okay.
Motion to initiate a charter revision study and within the next 30 days establish the charge and charter revision commission membership.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to interject. Maybe I heard it wrong.
No, that's all right.
I think you need, I think the top half of the motion is the motion to
Oh, I read it wrong.
amend the agenda, and then
Sorry.
the second half will be
That's all
your
right.
actual suggestion.
No, that's all right. I mean, I
Sorry,
think it
my
gets,
bad.
Does it get us to
I'm
the
still
same
on
place?
vacation, like.
I know it's the town clerk. She doesn't want to write all that
Yeah.
for the motion, right?
Cindy.
You just want it in.
All right, so
Yeah.
let me do it. Motion to add the following under new business.
Yeah.
Number one, hold harmless and access agreement regarding 0 North Washington Street, and number two, charter revision.
Second.
Motion and a
There
second.
we go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. 2025, we're on our way.
Here we go.
All right, so no presentations, no public hearings tonight. We do have several minutes to approve. Does anyone care to make a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Councilwoman Christopher.
motion to approve the December 13th and 14th, 2024 special meetings, the 16th, 2024 regular meeting, and the December 19th, 2024 special meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments, questions, any changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, announcements and reports. With the holidays, do we have any announcements or reports?
I do not.
All right. We'll then move to item number 5, appointments and resignations. We do have some appointments this evening.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Underwood.
I'll do all the motions together. First off, I want to thank the Plainville Fire Department for your service. I think Tommy said to me you had 800 and how many calls? 801 calls for year 2024. And I monitor those calls, and I got to tell you, when I hear those calls going off at 3 in the morning or 8 o'clock every morning, just unbelievable. So thank you for your service. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
motion to appoint Thomas Moccini as Chief of the Fire Department for a 2-year term. Motion to appoint Adrian Paradise as Deputy Chief of the Fire Department for a 2-year term. Appointment to appoint Kurt Plord as First Chief, Assistant Chief of the Fire Department for a 2-year term. And motion to appoint David Massey as Second Assistant Chief of the Fire Department for a 1-year term. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anyone with any comments, questions? I do want to just say, because obviously we know there's a report that a lot of people are waiting for, and the council, we're doing this tonight with full knowledge of that report. We do understand, and I think in some of the conversations, while I can't go into what we talk about in executive session, I want everyone to understand that we do take it seriously. We have established a subcommittee at the last meeting to look at some of the things in the report, and we are hoping to make some positive changes where changes need to be made. And moving forward with this, we have that understanding, and I just want to make sure we're all on the same page that we do trust the police or the fire company and the work they do. Certainly when they're out on a call, They work well together. I think we have a trust in the safety and the public safety they provide, and that's part of the reason we're moving forward with the appointments tonight. But we do have that report, and we are going to be working with that report to make things better where we think it's necessary. So that's kind of all I want to say about that tonight. So is there anyone else with anybody else with anything to say? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2,
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Tompkins.
motion to acknowledge the fire company's elected officers for 2025 and recognize the fire company captain and lieutenants as officers of the fire department as follows. Captain John Miska, First Lieutenant William Gammon, Lieutenant Noel Roach, and Lieutenant Stephen Chapman.
Second that motion.
All right, a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other appointments or reappointments to boards or commissions tonight? All right, we will move past Board of Education liaison and move to item 7, report of the town attorney. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Mr.
Good
Chairman.
evening.
I'm going to limit my remarks to just one thing tonight, which we've talked about, is the reports that we received regarding the investigation that was done regarding the volunteer fire department. And so, as you know, we have freedom of information requests with regard to those reports. We are going to be releasing a redacted version of the report, very minor, tomorrow. We have a meeting tonight, but we intend to release it tomorrow. I think that the report is very exhaustive and detailed. It probably will answer many questions that people have. I think it runs 20, 30 pages. I don't have it right in, well, actually, I do have it right in front of me. If I take a quick look here, I don't know if we number the pages or not. Yeah, 31 pages. And it also has a great deal of exhibits, et cetera. So I just want to indicate that we are going to release the report. People will be getting it tomorrow, and it does have some minor redactions. We do have outstanding FOI requests. So we're going to respond to those. I'm not going to respond to them now in public. It's not really appropriate. The only other thing I would say is that the council did act and appointed a subcommittee and of the council to address these issues. And the committee has the report and has had other materials too that may not be disclosed under freedom of information. And we've discussed that as to the reasons for it as the lawyer for the town. So I just wanted to indicate that when the subcommittee does begin to meet, that will be available to meet and to go over specific areas in the report. Only other thing I'm going to say is that a lot of the documents and exhibits that are referred to in the report are not going to be available tomorrow. The report will be, redacted report will be, I expect, will be available tomorrow. Some of the exhibits may pertain to individuals, and what we usually do is give them an opportunity to tell us if there's an objection that they feel that they have, a personal objection. And I usually will give them a couple of days to let me know that and then decide. Most of the time we disclose. The only time we don't, and so we have a lot of documents, so I really, there is more of a review. The only time we don't, if it's really something that's personal, it's got nothing to do with the employment that happens to be in there. And we did get, some of the requests were pretty broad. And so I'm getting documents still that might not necessarily be part of the report either. So I need to look at all that. But the report itself we're going to issue it in response to the FOI request tomorrow. Other than that, I would tell you, don't comment. If anybody has a problem with that, they can blame me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Any questions from anybody?
Yeah,
anyone?
any questions, comments? All right, so if we do get questions, you think the best course of action is to refer them to you?
Right.
Okay,
That's at this point.
at this point.
I-
Doesn't mean we won't someday be able to answer questions. but
Well-
at this point, you don't have to say it. I know, your brain, I could see.
I mean, I would say
I
that.
wish you didn't say that.
I would say
I
that the best thing to do this evening is to defer comments until people have had an opportunity to read the entire report.
Okay,
I think there'll be a lot of questions that will be answered, and I think in many places, answering questions out of context. We're looking at a 15 to 20-year time period. And even understanding really, what the questions are as to what they're relating to, what specific incident, what time period, who, et cetera. I think that it's best to let the report, have a chance to look at it. It's 31 pages of it, and it's very detailed. So I think it's best to take a look at that, and then, we're going to have another meeting in, 2 weeks, so.
okay.
Not that I'm encouraging anybody to ask questions, I'm not, but, that's it. If there's
All right.
any other questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else, anything? All right, thank you for your report. Now we can move to item 8, report of the town manager. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 4 items under my report this evening, 3 of which are updates, and the 4th is happenings, and Cindy will take care of in lieu of Andy's absence. So I'll begin with item number 1, which is the road bond discussion. I think the council knows that we've had a very successful road paving program. The town of Plainville has 328 street sections totaling approximately 67 miles of town paved roadways. And during the past 10 construction seasons, the town has utilized approximately $10 million in bond authorization to repave approximately 33 miles of roadway. So we did that in 2 tranches, or in 2 rounds of funding of $5 million each. We are now at the end of that second tranche of funding. So a new round of bond funds will be needed to authorize continued repaving program for town roadways. The calculation would indicate about 34 miles of roadways remain to be repaved at this point. Assuming the town continues to repave roadways at the same pace as in the past 10 years, 3+ miles per construction season, it will likely take another 10 years to accomplish this feat. Construction costs, of course, have increased substantially over the past 10 years. In the past, the town has authorized approximately, $1 million per construction season. In order to stay on track and to complete paving all the streets within a 20-year period, is recommended that the future bond authorization be increased from $5 million to $6.5 million. This increase incorporates an inflation factor of approximately 2.5%. So that would be my recommendation going forward. And I wanted to, bring this up to the council's agenda so that we may proceed in future meeting to start the authorization process in terms of getting to the market and getting in the spring, so that we don't lose a season. If you can imagine, the engineer does a lot of planning and will need to know if the funds are going to be approved or not. And if that doesn't happen in the spring, then he'll likely lose a season to that. But I think it's been a very successful program, and I think from my perspective, residents appreciate that. And John Bossy is here this evening. I asked him to stop by, so I will certainly pause if there are questions, because I'm sure there may be a few, like, how we go about, evaluating those roads. And in most cases, we'd like to get our roads to last 20, 25 years, or in this case, we're getting to them in 25, 30, depending, again, if the council is consistent about funding the program, then obviously there's more stability and reach that we can get with where we need to go. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions about the road program.
Anyone have any questions?
No.
Yes.
The only question I have is is about Broad Street. We had talked about earlier. I looked back, and it was Broad Street was done just a couple of years ago. Gas company has ruined it. Is there any way to hold them more accountable on their patchwork? And I understand they're going to be doing half of the road in the spring. I think we need to do the other half.
Yeah, you are right on point. It becomes frustrating for us when we undertake road projects and utilities answer to Pura, and so that's where we'd have to go
Okay.
to try and get some concessions, if you will, in terms of or better coordination, I think, and better timing of what projects they're going to do and what road project we're doing with what utility projects they're doing, so that we don't have this problem of paving a road and then, we in fact have a 5-year moratorium on that in terms of doing that. But in most cases, it is, emergency situations that, a connection needs to be made in the interest of public safety, and so those happen. But to your point, I agree. I'm not sure what the answer is, and I'm not sure we'll get too far with that. But
Yeah.
it is frustrating for us, and we're well aware of that. John and I talk about that quite a bit, and but we'll continue to fight to coordinate and have better lines of communication.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Anyone else? Any questions? Just, I do have a couple. So right now we won't be doing any road paving in the spring, or we have. Or is that the last year of this second 5-year cycle,
We'll be using up
or whatever we have left?
well, Honor Heights will be happening
Yep.
in the spring, and then I know John's got a few odds and ends that we've got to, but that would exhaust the bond
Okay.
that we had previously in the
All right.
last year, so that getting to the market in the spring for say April, if possible, it'll be close. It'll be
Yeah.
a challenge
No,
for
and that's
John
fine. I
to get
just-
that, but.
Yep, I understand. I just want to make sure I understood it. And the second thing is, regarding the 20-year repaving, my street, for example, Usher Ave, it's been 35 years, and honestly, with the traffic we get, it's cracking, and it's not in great shape, but it certainly can last more than 20 years. Is there a way as we go forward now that we're kind of getting caught up on some of these where, Street A doesn't really need to be done every 20 years. It can be done every 30 years. And, maybe Street C does need to be looked at after 15 years or so. And I know we're looking out 10 years or so from now, but just, I'm wondering if as we are allocating this money, is it time? Because I imagine, or let me ask this. We don't just assume we're going to repave every street every 20 years.
No, we can't get there unless you were to increase the allocation. We're stretching. I mean, I'm asking you to stretch to 6.5.
Yep.
Right, over what has
Yeah.
been 5 or 10, two tranches of 5 million, 10 million over the last 10 years. So, asking to keep pace with that, but we're trying to get as close as we can to stretch. And I don't think John can. I don't think anybody can answer that because of the variables involved, right? So conditions change. There are some roads that don't get a lot of traffic volume, and some that do. And again, it's also material and what happens in terms of the actual construction, the company we get to do it, and so forth. A lot of different variables, but we do the best we can to get it within a target of 25, if not 30.
Okay.
And then it just turns over. It's never done.
Right.
So it's
Yep.
just
Yep.
like school projects.
Yeah.
Right? You should do as much as you can, and then inevitably 25, 30, 40,
Yep.
50, you've got to do something again. So
Or like fire trucks.
or for apparatus, right? There's a certain life cycle to that. Right?
But no, and that's why I guess it, kind of looking back now that I've actually asked my question, I guess that you guys are always assessing what needs to be done as opposed to what actually gets done.
Right. Yeah, John, I think does an excellent job in terms of understanding the history of in roads and that they're, developments can change, like, I'm just using an example that will change the topography and nature, and then all of a sudden you've got a neighborhood or a street that's never seen water like they've seen, and it becomes a problem, and it erodes, and you never had a problem before until a development goes in, or some other variable changes the history of that road and or conditions there. So,
Okay.
and it could be a whole number of things. So,
All right.
I think we're doing the best we can to stay on top of it. This is the program that allows the town to do that, to plan ahead and do 5-year increments. So like,
And this number was included when we met back in December for capital items. That, in the projected bond debt,
yeah.
this was considered. That was part of the
It's sort of
process,
the
correct?
base, right? We were
You
looking at
incorporate that
in the
into the
next
numbers.
bond issue, we've always looked at this, knowing that this
Yep,
issue was going
okay.
to be depleted, or these bond funds would be depleted well, they are,
Yep.
and we need to get back into the market to replenish that program.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ready to move on to item 2?
Yeah, item 2 briefly is we've talked about the Fire Department Review Subcommittee has been formed. That was at the December 19th special meeting of the Town Council. And, for the purposes of reviewing the charter, ordinances, bylaws, rules, regulations, procedures pertaining to fire service. As you said, there's a lot there, and there's a history there. So the subcommittee, I would hope, would be meeting in January, later this month, and working to understand and digest the report that was prepared by Attorney Cedar that outlines the challenges the fire company faces going forward, and that they will work hopefully within a parallel process with the Charter Revision Commission to be able to lend information and guidance or recommendations to the Charter Revision Commission, because if it is a modification or whatever you're going to do with respect to the charter, it may not be the charter, it may just be ultimately come down to ordinances, procedures, and so forth. But again, it could be helpful to the Charter Revision Commission.
Okay.
And then my third item is update regarding blight issues, and I know that the council receives a lot of calls, and, the manager's office as well, and that, staff and the attorney have been working on it, and we had another opportunity, the attorney and myself had an opportunity to talk again on this, but really the message is just a renewed strategies, if you will, or a renewed resolve, I guess, to look at these cases and our process. But I know I could defer to Morris on this, because I think there's a lack of understanding in terms of what's involved for the community, for the town, with respect to due process, right? And so we just don't march right in and cut the grass and lean the house. It's not that simple. And so we know that we've got to address some of these issues, and it is, resource intensive in terms of, the files that we need to keep and the process we need to do. But we recognize that there are issues that we want resolved, or at least action taken, and it also, some cases involves, multiple jurisdictions, like the health department, if there's vermin or other pests and things of that nature that have come up in certain circumstances, that we have to take an active, or they have to take an active role in. So I'll defer to Morris, and we've had some conversations around this.
So we did, the manager and I have discussed this, and I've talked to the assistant manager as well as with, I'm not going to remember his last name, so I just won't say it. Jacob, I can't remember his last name though. And one of the issues that you have with the blight ordinances and the statutes is that the town eventually, after you've jumped through quite a few hoops, has quite a bit of power and authority. However, the hoops are substantial because you're going to affect people's property rights. And so the statute was revamped not long ago where you have to give 2 notices and there's certain time periods. And then after you've given those notices, then it would come to us as the lawyers. And then we usually have something served by a process server at that point. And most of the time, the residents will comply. And so what happens is, though, just from the point of view of the mechanics of it, we need to be able to show that somebody's in violation of a blight every day that we want to find them. So what that means is taking pictures like at least once a week so you can establish that the condition is existing the whole time and they didn't, break the time period. And then when we actually, like for tomorrow, I plan on driving by 3 houses tomorrow, or 3 addresses, I shouldn't say houses, because we have a marshal or a process server, we don't use a marshal, who's going to deliver these blight notices after they've gotten 2 warnings already saying, okay, now it's still going on. So, I just drove by, it's still going on. If you don't do it in like 10 days, then we're going to have to do something. And then, of course, we have to follow up and see if they did something, because lots of times they do something, and then do they do enough? And so that's why the process, and it can be extremely frustrating, and I know that. I ended up trying a case for another town. Went to the state Supreme Court on it. I mean, it can be very frustrating. The only thing I'll say is that one of the things that potentially is something that we're going to look at is that if you do the blight enforcement and you follow the rules to the T, you will get your blight lien will take priority over all the other liens, including a first mortgage. And so what happens is, but under the statute, you have to put that first mortgage holder on notice. So usually it would be a bank. And so when you put that first mortgage holder on notice, those banks know that now they're going to come in second behind the blight lien if you jump through all the hoops. Usually they'll give the property owner a harder time than we can. So that's something we're going to take a look at. Now, obviously, that's a lot more work for us because now we got to go into the land records and do a lot more than usually that we'd have the staff be doing, as I'm sure the clerk knows. But that's something we're going to look at, but just to explain why these things take so much time.
All right.
Any other questions from anybody? Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, that's it. If there are no more questions, and I'll hand off number 4 happenings to our clerk, Cindy.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
You too. So, to start off, or actually the only happenings we have tonight are from the Senior Center. If you have any questions about any of the events, you can contact the Senior Center directly at 860-747-5728. And the first one we have is on Tuesday, January 14th at 10 a.m. It's Caregiving Connections, where you can join at the Senior Center. You can go to the Senior Center to join the Senior Center to support other seniors in their journey and recognize challenges in caregiving 24/7. The next event is income tax preparation. Appointment signups begin January 15th. The Plainville Senior Center will once again host AARP Tax Aid and VITA Tax Aid. It's a free program that provides income tax preparation assistance by certified volunteer tax counselors. Appointments will be on Tuesday is February 4th through Tuesday, April 8th, and Fridays, January 31st through April 11th. Grub Club, Thursday, January 16th, 11:30 to 2:30. Cookies and Hot Cocoa, Thursday, January 16th at 2 p.m. Grandparents Raising Grandchildren, Tuesday, January 21st at 10:30 a.m. And Cafe Continental Breakfast, Wednesday, January 22nd, 9:15 to 10:30. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Before we move on, any questions or comments for the town managers or his report this evening? All right, we can move now to item 9, public comments. At this point of the meeting, anyone who wishes to make a comment to the town council may do so. Please step forward to the podium, give your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comments. The first ring you hear means you have 30 seconds left. The second ring means time has run out. Who wants to talk to the council this evening? Yes. Push the button at the bottom. There you go. Yep.
Hello, my name is Nisa Davey, and I reside at 53 Serenus Avenue. Excuse my voice, I'm a little raspy today. I know I have a limited amount of time to speak here today. I know all council members had been given a copy of my question earlier. If you do not have that, I do have copies for you.
We do have it. It was forwarded
Okay.
to us earlier.
So I do know I have a limited amount of time. However, I'm going to read all of these questions. I know the town attorney said, to try to hold off on all questions, but I do want to put my questions out here verbally to you. So number one, what procedures and protocols does the town have in place when an employee has been accused of egregious behaviors in the workplace? Number two, we are all aware that there has been a complaint that was previously filed against the fire chief in December of 2023. Yes, that was a year ago. When did the town manager inform the town council members of said complaint? 3, did the town manager inform you of the allegations that were alleged? 4, were you aware of the allegations filed against the fire chief consisted of harassment with multiple physical altercations by the chief to its members, as well as verbal harassment, discrimination against protected classes, created a hostile work environment, bullying its members, and defamation of character? If not, how come you as council members were never informed, and isn't it the duty of the town manager to report it to you? 5, were you aware that the town of Plainville hired outside counsel to investigate this matter, for which a report still has not been issued despite many FOI requests? I know that was mentioned. However, how much money did the town and its taxpayers have to pay for this investigation to be conducted? 6, are you familiar with the state and federal laws that the town of Plainville has adopted in preventing and prohibiting these types of behaviors? 7, did the town manager ever inform you of retaliation that had started against one of the complainants since the complaint had been filed back in December of 2023? If not, why were you not informed? 8, since the town manager, the HR representatives, and town council members were well aware and are versed and aware of these policies, why was nothing done to protect the complainant from these allegations, which then resulted in retaliatory behavior against the complainant, which has continued up to this day, and I'm sure, since I'm here tonight, it will get worse tomorrow. 9, since the town manager and council members should be well versed in the policies that it holds, again, why have these behaviors been allowed to continue? 10, the town attorney said at the last meeting in reviewing the report that there, I quote, an increasing level of division, animosity, multiple complaints filed against the department's management, actions ranging from selective treatment, favoritism, abusive conduct, yet the town council still reappointed the fire chief pending the issuance of the investigative report. Why would the town council reappoint the fire chief pending such egregious allegations? 11, over the past few town council meetings, we've heard the town attorney continuously say that the report will be forthcoming. Let me try
If you want to, if all you want to do is read these into the record, go ahead and finish.
Okay. So, reappointing the fire chief without having the investigative report accessible. You council members were asked by the town attorney at the last meeting if you had any questions, and your response was no, we do not. Given all that the town attorney spoke of, how, as you of town council members, have not had any questions? 12. Have you heard the town attorney ask at the last several meetings that were issued within the fire department? As of this morning, the town manager stated that the investigative report is being released tomorrow. With that being said, why were the appointments not moved to a later date pending the outcome of the investigation report? 13, did the town manager ever report to you that, and I quote, the entire department is imploding upon itself? If not, do you know why? As those are his words to me. 14, after hearing the town attorney speak at 2 different town council meetings and making statements stating that there are issues within the fire department, how did the town council reappoint its members this evening before review of the investigation report? 15, have you been informed as to how many members have resigned from the fire department or refused to come around and respond to calls, given the culture that has been set forth within the fire department by its chief? 16, given all of the allegations that have been alleged, and the fire department is nothing more than a popularity contest, all of which undermines cohesiveness within the department, and such behavior has contributed to fostering a division amongst its members. I feel that the only way to resolve this from continuing is for the town manager and town council to hire outside panel and have all officers, which include the chief, the deputy chief, the first assistant chief, second assistant chief, captain, first lieutenant, and all other 4 lieutenants, which would have to apply for those positions. This would be in compliance with the Town of Plainville's affirmative action policy, wherein it states that the town is committed to undertake positive actions to overcome the present and past practices of barriers to equal employment opportunity. By hiring an outside panel to conduct these interviews, members should be appointed solely based on their knowledge, skills, and ability, rather than who they know and who has it out for them. The next few things are not pertaining to, and these are just as a courtesy to the town, that I found. In referring to the affirmative action policy statement signed by the town manager dated April 4th, 2023, please refer to the 5th paragraph, 11th line down. It states, and I quote, definition of mentally retarded, 46A 5113. This is not the correct language in the Connecticut state statute, and issuing such language is considered derogatory in nature. The correct language that is cited in the state statute is intellectual disability, 46A 5113. And I also previously informed both the town manager and Stacy Buden in December of 2023 and January 24 that the CHRO sexual harassment poster is not posted on the bulletin board in the firehouse. To date, the poster still has not been posted, and in doing so, CHRO could pose the town a fine of $750 for not posting the poster in its buildings, as it is a requirement. I did bring a copy so that it can get posted because the town shouldn't be fined. And that's all I have
All right,
for you.
thank you.
Thank you. Would you like me to give the copies to?
The town clerk would be fine, please. And just before I ask for the next person, I don't know if the town manager, do you want to address at least, I know we're not going to address the questions, but
Yeah, I
the
don't want
affirmative
to,
action section?
yeah, I don't address the 16 points, but the other items on the affirmative action, and if the language there will certainly not challenge the language there. We'll correct that. But as to the item, the second item on the posting, I sat with the director, Stacy Buden, and she did post after NISA had informed us that it was missing. So why to this day, or today, or last week, or whenever she went out to, why it's not I don't know. But Stacy personally went out there to post it herself on the board, and so I'm not sure why that's happening, and we'll certainly make sure that it gets reposted. So not an issue. We'll take care of that.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone else that wishes to address the council?
I had a comment on that also,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I was referred to a number of times during the statement. I just wanted to say once again that I think that looking at the report will answer a lot of the questions that were asked. I would also indicate that we have a subcommittee and that there were suggestions made tonight, and that the subcommittee can certainly consider some of those suggestions. And the last thing, just from a legal point of view on the equal opportunity, I don't think that that's going to apply in any way. You need a suspect class. And there's nothing, I mean, that's just legal stuff, but I just wanted to just say that I just can't sit and not respond when I hear something that I don't think is correct legally. That's all I have.
All right. All right, thank you. Ms. Loria, did you have your hand up when I was asking? Okay, no, I got halfway through it. I thought I saw your hand go up, but if it's not, you can wait. I'm sure John would love an opportunity to get up. I don't mean to put you on the spot either, John. If you don't want to get up now, I'll ask for someone else.
I'll break it up.
Yeah.
Good evening, Town Council. John Kislick, 65 Forestville Avenue. A couple months ago, I asked this council about some land. It was listed as Norton Park Road that the town sold to the state. I must have missed the meeting when the town council approved the sale of this land, so I don't know too much about it.
Could you mean Redstone Hill?
Well, I thought it was listed as Norton Park Road on
Yeah.
the listing in the paper.
Okay.
And it went for 52,000 or something like that. I'm just wondering, why did the town sell that? And what is the state going to use that land for? Do you know?
Yeah, I
You wanna
believe that's,
answer
John, I believe you're referring to the trail that's coming through Norton Park.
That's what I assumed, but nobody ever told me it was for the trail. I just thought it was, and that's when I asked if it was actually part of Norton Park. But what are they going to do with it? And why would we have to sell something when the rest of the town, where they're going through, we're not selling them any land? Why this particular piece are we selling, and what's it going to be used for? I mean, the trail's going through our whole town, and we haven't sold anything as far as I know except for this.
Yeah, it is, it was a requirement, and I don't know, Mark, if you have any additional information specific to that, but it's part of the trail, and that their acquisition of that was needed for the trail.
But are going to use it for anything particular? Is it going to be a parking lot, or, it's just part of the walkway?
Part of the walkway, the trail.
Okay.
That's my understanding. And again, I'll defer to Mark, maybe has a better answer than that's my understanding.
Do you want to say something, Mark? Do you mind if Mark takes a little bit of your time?
That's all I wanted to know anyway, so.
And there is a second piece to it where Redstone Hill, the state purchased some private property.
Yeah, that I saw.
Because there
from-
is
from-
going to be a parking lot.
From some of the public. I
Yes,
saw
a
those,
private owner sold
Right.
some land. So there's two pieces to this
Right.
in that section.
Anyway, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Yeah,
I could probably answer on why usually when you take eminent property by eminent domain through condemnation, you have to offer to buy it first. You can't do an offer, then you can take it, but you have to offer to buy it first. So that could be, what happened here. They offered to buy it, and it was a good price, $52,000. I don't know that, but that's what you usually have to do. That may be the reason why.
Okay. Anything to add, Mark?
Just one thing.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Okay. So it's $53,100. It's a linear piece of property that runs through open space that we obtained via subdivision process and within the park proper. And again, the piece is linear, and once the trail is constructed, the property will be turned back to the town at no charge to us. So we come away with $53,100 to put into our coffers, and the land reverts back to the town.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council this evening? Yes, Ms. Luria.
Roberta Loria, 18 Perrin Road. You had alluded to a subcommittee for the charter.
A charter revision commission.
Revision Commission. Will this be in regards to certain sections?
There are certain things I'm sure the council will ask them to look at. They can look at whatever they want as a commission. They can look at stuff we don't recommend. So yeah, the whole charter is open for them to look at. Yes.
I guess I'd like to make a suggestion. Maybe we need to really look at our entire form of government. With all due respect, there was an overwhelming vote against the change to the town manager. The reason why we have a town manager was because in the 1950s, our very last first selectman, who was Joseph Edmund, convinced the town to change from a selectman to a town manager. Now, I don't know the history behind it. Maybe Vice Chair Moranti might, but I'm sure being in the selectman position, he must have thought that the growth we were doing and what was going on, we needed someone full-time. So maybe our thought is we need to think of a mayoral form of government here. That's not to say we don't have a town manager, we don't have a town council, it's not to say we don't have that, it's gonna be our charter. But this would help fix some things, and I think would also help to bring some peace to some of the community that has been going on with the divisiveness with all this. Joseph Edmond did what he thought was right, and it worked for a while, but it's obviously causing issues now. So if this is something the committee is going to be looking at, maybe we should just look at the whole thing and not just certain sections.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council this evening? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comments. We'll move on to, we're actually going to move past old business, and we can move right to new business.
Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind, if we could go back to old business, I think Mark would have some
Oh,
update
that's my fault.
for the.
We have an update on the canal,
Yeah.
or on the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail.
Good evening again.
Good
I
evening.
made a few notes. Mike asked me to contact DOT and find out essentially where they were in the process. So this is pretty brief. I'll break it up into two parts. Phase 1 and 2, which, as you know, has already been finalized, are both in the final stages of design. Work on one or both of these phases could come as early as fall of next year. Some remaining issues with Phase 1 in particular. An injunction was filed by the owner of 90 Town Line Road to block the acquisition of an easement across their land. Our DOT rep expects that will be settled soon. It's in their best interest to do so. In Phase 2, the town is still waiting for word from FAA on a release of a small portion of the currently unused airport lot bound by Northwest Drive, Perrin Road, and Johnson Avenue. So that impacted area is linear in nature, and the trail proposed there doesn't create any significant impacts or loss of land. As far as Phase 3 is concerned, we've been talking about this more recently. DOT did acknowledge receipt of the town council feedback that was given quite some time ago and has given it consideration in their most recent draft designs. In the meantime, there was a site walk for DOT as well as other interested parties. We had Town of Plainville as well as public shareholder representatives. It created an opportunity for additional input on the DOT preferred alignment, but it also gave an opportunity to discuss some of the town council recommended alternatives. The first being exiting, in lieu of exiting the park in the way that DOT had initially proposed, would be to exit the park via the north side of the canal on a lawn that currently exists there, and then through town-owned property to the rear of Hemingway, out to Broad Street via two private properties. There may be three. There are three, excuse me. And the second part of that would be to use Webster Street to come across Broad Street, hang left, cut across Webster, then across 372 near the Forestville Avenue intersection, and then back down to 177. I think that DOT is concerned about using Webster Street due to a greater number of commercial crossings along that entire leg, one of which was across a restaurant parking lot that backs out directly onto Webster Street. And there's very little right-of-way to play with there. In addition, the residential front yard impacts would be equal to or greater than those being proposed on Washington Street. The path would also have to cross over Route 372 near that intersection of Forestville Avenue, and then again at the intersection of Route 372 and 177. You know, it would sort of negate any benefit. But they did appear open to that, to the option as far as Broad Street was concerned, you know, utilizing the town land to get out to Broad Street. I think that they're probably going to come back with a recommendation to bring it back down to the intersection of Broad and 177, and then continue up Washington Street as shown in their initial design. Another potential route was using Hemingway Street as was proposed back in 2018. During that hearing, the residents were vehemently opposed, and the town and DOT were convinced to seek an alternate route, which happened. I believe resistance to using Hemingway Street will still remain strong. So, and the same may be true for the path along Washington Street. either way, there's going to be private property impacts. Those will be unavoidable. So in summary, DOT is not looking for a final decision on going to a 30% design right now. They want to accomplish that as soon as possible, but they first want to bring an alignment to the town council for some consensus to bring it to the public, at which point the town can receive public input, and they can move forward with whatever consensus can be raised during that public session. At that point, I think they would be coming back to you and looking for a 30% design resolution to move forward with that.
They give any time frame as to when they might want to come back?
Yeah, that will probably happen at some point, February or March. They should be coming back to the town council with a set of alternatives, potentially, and, look to take that to the public.
Okay.
Particularly those members of the public that will be impacted.
Yep.
And see what we get for suggestions and concerns from them.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anyone with any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything to add to that before I move on correctly this time?
Nothing for me.
Okay. All right, so now we're at new business, item 11. The new number 1, is there a motion? And this one you would beat down.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
motion to approve and authorize the town manager to execute the hold harmless and access agreement regarding 0 North Washington Street, Plainville, Connecticut, map block lot 25-C-2.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? I know we've been talking about this for a few months, but it looks like it's actually happening now. Any comments, anything we don't know already? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilwoman Tompkins.
motion to initiate a charter revision study and within the next 30 days establish the charge and charter revision commission membership.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the last is the tax refunds.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Gettleman.
motion to approve the tax refunds as listed on the addendum.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions on the tax refunds? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Other discussions of interest. Is there any other discussions of interest?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to address the council, if I
Yep.
may.
Go ahead.
Council, about a week and a half, I'd say within a week and a half's time, I've received 3 complaints from people of Plainville in regards to the public benefit. Now, the public benefit is on the back of your Eversource bill. It's a fee that the state of Connecticut has imposed upon the people of Plainville and also the people of Connecticut, but I'm concerned about the people here in our community. It's an outrageous bill, and I'll explain to you what mine looks like real quick. And I also have a guest speaker. Senator Henry Martin came today to discuss what this is all about. My November bill was $140.50, and the state decided they were going to put a public benefit on it. My public benefit for November was $56.25. You add that to my $140 bill, it now becomes $196.75. My bill for December was $225.97. Adding that public benefit to it, the bill came to $322.82. The public benefit was $96.85. I expect my bill for January with all this cold weather will probably be $400 and some dollars, in which the public benefit will be $150 to $160. February, the coldest month of the year, will probably be more like a $200 public benefit, and the bill will probably be around $500. Now, adding all of that up, all 4 months, the additional tax, I'll call it a tax because I have no idea what it's called. Public benefit doesn't tell me much. But the 4 months, $503 will be the extra that I'll have to pay for November, December, January, and February. Outrageous. Now, I know a lot of people have submitted petitions to the state legislatures, and nothing has happened. I think what I would like to see this town council do for the people of Plainville is to send a resolution to the State House asking them to review this again and come up with other means of paying this. Out of the public benefit, my understanding is only 20% covers people who can't afford it. And I got to tell you, this public benefit is creating more people who can't afford it, really, when you think about it. $500 in 4 months. Who's got that kind of money you want to throw back into the state? I would ask Senator Martin, to come up and discuss what this was all about, as I have no clue. And I know a lot of people don't even recognize the fact that they're paying extra money. But if you look on the back of your bill, it says public benefit, and it's in orange.
Thank you, Senator Martin, for being
Well-
here tonight.
Well, thank you for asking me, and Happy New Year to the entire city here, or town. I'll do my best to explain a very complicated issue, and I'll take some questions and do my best to answer them. So what you're seeing there, Councilman Underwood, is that in 2023, we passed legislation that made the invoicing by Eversource more transparent. Prior to 2023, what you saw on your invoices were the transmission fee and the supply fee. Buried in there were what you are now seeing is the public fee or public charge aspect of this. So it's a good thing because now it's clear for the public to see, gee, where exactly are the costs associated with bringing power to my home is actually placed. So that fee or that breakdown is 4 components, right? One is the supply, and that supply is by the generators. Those are the ones who actually manufacture electricity. How do they produce it? Well, they produce it through nuclear energy. They produce it through solar, wind. They produce it through gas. Coal, I think, is gone. I'm not sure. So those are the sort of the big players regarding who actually supplies the energy. I want you to use your imagination a little bit here. All the transmission lines that you see, the real big ones, where it goes, it got it 200 feet wide, and you got these big power lines. Those are throughout all of New England, and all the generators, all the suppliers, feed into these transmission lines. So, and that's controlled by an entity who manages and operates it, and they are the ones who manage getting power from perhaps Connecticut or New Hampshire or from Rhode Island, and making sure that wherever there's a greater need, that power gets to that place. So you got all these generators, and I don't know how many there are, but they're throughout all of New England, and they feed into the New England grid. They come to supply a substation in nearby neighborhoods. So the supply, you got these transmission lines, and now you've got the local delivery. This is where Eversource comes into play. They take the power from the substations and they bring it to our homes. Now, let me just quickly go back to the supply. Eversource does not make any money on the supply. They do not. They come to Pura and they look to get reimbursed for certain things that they have to provide, such as the upgrading of the substation, the transmission lines, local transformers on our lines, etc. They do make money on that. The last portion that you see on your invoice is the public benefits fee that people are seeing for the very first time. And these are associated costs that we, the state of Connecticut, forces Eversource to take care of, meaning we create policies up in Hartford that mandates that we provide certain amount of renewable energy. Well, there's a cost to that because the renewable energies is more expensive to produce the renewable energies. I'm talking about solar, I'm talking about wind, talking about what did I say? Wind, solar are the big players in all this. But there's a fee associated to that. It costs like 23 cents kilowatt hour compared to 5 cents for nuclear. Sometimes gas is 3 cents a kilowatt hour. Here's what happens in Hartford. So we have these nice little programs, the rebate programs that I'm sure this town may have tapped into here. I've done it in my business at homeowners. Those rebate programs are part of this benefit fee that we're all paying into. So Eversource is required, needs to get reimbursed for some of their costs, but in addition to, it costs us to provide these benefit programs. All of us in here are paying for those public fees, or those programs, the rebate programs. Give you another example of a rebate program. The electric vehicles, right? When you go buy an electric vehicle, you get a discount or you get a rebate. And I don't know what it is now, $7,500. We passed legislation 3 years ago for electric bikes. So you want to buy an electric bike, $4,000, but you're going to get a rebate of $750. Don't hold me to those numbers. I don't know. But those costs are in this public fee. So part of that benefit program, too, is the Green Bank. And the Green Bank's job is to promote clean energy and help develop clean energy. So encourage businesses to be thinking of ways of changing the way they do business. Sometimes they get grants, sometimes they get loans, but part of that fee, that public benefit fee, is paying for those services or those programs. I went over the rebates, for homes, right? The energy efficiency, buying appliances or weather stripping. Businesses do it for lighting, perhaps for equipment as well. In that public fee portion, which has created a big uproar, is $180 million, I believe, that Eversource wants to get paid for to start building out the EV infrastructure throughout the state of Connecticut. Now, I don't know what the total amount is to do that, but this is the beginning of building out the EV infrastructure, charging stations throughout the state of Connecticut. We also had the hardship portion of this in the public benefits, which are those COVID. Well, it sort of was more light was shined on those individuals, right? Because by executive order, through COVID, we told Eversource you cannot shut off anybody's power. But it didn't stop during COVID, the 2 years of COVID. It went on for, I believe, 4 years. Well, Eversource wants to get paid. So they went to Pura. Pura denied them for 2 years, I believe, and said, no, you can't. And let me just say this, by the way. This program has always been part of our bill. We just never saw it before. People weren't aware that, gee, we're paying for people that have hit hard times and they can't afford it. Now, are there programs for them to help them out of that? Absolutely. There are grants. Don't have to pay it back because of that particular hardship. But there is also a dollar for dollar, where you pay your bill could be $500. You pay one, we will pay the other, so it's $250. And there's also a a length of, let's give you a installment plan to pay that $500. So we'll charge it, $25, $50 for the next 10 months. So there are programs out there that are established and they're part of this benefit cost. And the last portion of the benefits program is the purchase power agreements. Back in 2017, we had a Millstone came to us, and they supply, I think, 50% of our electricity here in Connecticut. But we needed to get into an agreement with them because they were going to close their doors. They could not compete against the gas industry. So the gas industry was under market, not under market, but at that time, it was, I don't know, but 3 cents a kilowatt hour. And we ended up negotiating through this power purchase agreement for $5, and I think it's for a 10-year, 5 cents a kilowatt hour, guaranteed we are going to buy X amount of electricity from you, and I'll say 50% of our electricity is going to come from the nuclear component of this. Now, it's complicated because, just complicated, but there's a cost for these power purchase agreements. When the gas is on the market, wholesale price is 7 cents, we win. We win by 2 cents a kilowatt hour. You never saw it, but it was reflected in your bill. What you see now, what you hear now is because gas is 3 cents, we're paying more by 2 cents a kilowatt hour. That's part of this transparency, breaking things down, right? Why is it costing you, Dave, so much money? Because of what these things I've outlined here a little bit. Let me just quickly describe the renewables, and there are, as part of this benefit, this public benefit. So we're mandated by the state to start moving from these fossil fuels and these plants, or getting our power from gas, from oil suppliers, right? Electrical suppliers who require oil or gas to generate. We are on track that we need to purchase 40% of our electricity needs to come from Class 1 renewable energy. What is that? Class 1 are solar, wind, basically. Class 2, trash to energy plants. We have not, and there's another class, and I don't recall what's included in that. But we need to purchase 40%, I think by 2030, we need to purchase 40% of our power from the Class 1. Class 1 is 23 cents a kilowatt hour compared to 5 cents a kilowatt hour. Currently, our nuclear power plant is not a Class 1. If we build a new nuclear power plant, it will be a Class 1, and getting power from Class 1 renewables to meet the goal of 40% makes it less expensive if they are included in that Class 1. But currently, it is not. So to go purchase, right now, I think we're at 28%. We're on line for increasing by 5%, I think annually, up to 40%. Class 1, that is, 40%. And Class 2 and 3 are like 4% each or something like that. It's complicated, everybody, but when we have set these policies up in Hartford that are changing our behavior, or we have to purchase X, your power, the cost of power increases because of some of the stuff that we've done up in Hartford. It's a complicated issue. and I've only know about this much out of the mountain that of the complexity it is. I hope I simplified it as best as I could.
Henry, thank you very much.
No?
There is no cutoff on this. There is no expiration date on this, is what my understanding is. And I got to be honest with you. To think that I'm going to pay $1,000, close to a year, between summer and winter, and the only reason I say that is because I have an all-electric condominium. So
Yeah.
I get hit hard with the fees here.
I like the idea that you guys are considering of you're having this discussion about passing the resolution, right? If you do that, it's a voice, right? You're expressing your concern for what we're doing in Hartford, and you're representing your town here because it does impact everybody. I'll say this, that can we move that public fee? Because it's 25% to 30%.
It's crazy.
And by the way, the people who have gone solar, right, do not have to pay that public fee. So, what we're proposing, an idea that we have been talking about for 4 or 5 months, is taking that public fee and moving it to the budget at the state level. And why? Well, if these programs and this direction that some want us to go into, and we've passed these statutes that are forcing us to adopt these, the renewables, then let it compete against other just as important services that we have to budget for. If this is important, then put it in the budget. So now it's not all on people who have electric homes or are seeing, you think about, take 25% off your electric bill for going forward. Would that help? Absolutely.
You know what it is, Henry? This isn't a political thing that I'm trying to start here with the council. I don't care what Hartford does as far as electricity or whether it be nuclear or whatever, oil or solar. It's a matter of how they want to pay for it. I don't think it should be on the backs of the Plainville people, struggling as it is. And not only the Plainville people, but let's be honest about it, it's the whole state of Connecticut that's up in arms over it. I felt that if the council, a government body, would say something to another government body that maybe this isn't the way to do it, finance it, off the backs of the people of Plainville and Connecticut, that there's other ways that they can get the money. And to me, to elevate the expense every time my electric bill goes up is, no common sense at all, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. That's my feeling. I don't know what the other council.
Could I just ask, a couple things. One, if we can reach out to your office, you or your office, just, what would be some of the bullet points you think we should hit on in a resolution?
Yeah.
And if we wanted to forward that to the state, who should we be sending it to? I don't know if it's a Pura issue. I don't know if it's, just to the legislators themselves.
Definitely the legislators, the governor's office, both parties, the leadership of both parties. And then
I would, with consent from everyone here, that we would look, just to reach out to your office to get some guidance in that.
We'll help you.
I would be happy to do a resolution. I do think maybe, with the session starting up, I don't know if there's a chance that they could at least look at it. Maybe it's time to just look it over. And
Mr. Chair, I think there is going to be some discussion. What comes of it, I don't know. Because I think it was, it was political season, and you make your noise.
Yep.
But when it comes down to today's point, is that, listen, this is not a party issue. This is you're talking about money, hard-earned money.
Yeah.
People just can't make ends meet.
Yeah.
The state as a whole is very unaffordable for many. When you add in the 2 years that we've just gone through and seen our grocery bills go up and our electrical bills, particularly when they're talking about building out infrastructure for EVs that are really, I fought back on EVs just for this reason. And, we talked about what most of the public didn't know, and we came out and said, listen, we don't have the infrastructure, the transmission lines all need to be changed. If your neighborhood, Chris,
Yep.
and Deb, yours, and you're all tied in together. Transformers need to be changed. The power lines from transformer to transformer, the power lines to the houses, just by simply pushing us to purchase EVs.
Well, it doesn't make sense if we don't have the infrastructure to provide it to force
I
it.
don't
So-
mind building it, right? I don't mind spending the 180, but on the backs of people who are who are not going to really benefit for it right away, because AVs are for those that pretty much are well off, bottom line, and there's proof for that.
Well, if it's okay with the council, I'm okay with putting together a resolution, and I don't mean to add in something else to the town manager's list of things to do, but maybe Dave, you might already have something in mind of what you want to write, but put together a resolution and.
Mike, if you want to call my office, we'll help you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like a clarification on a couple of things you said. The bills technically haven't gone up because of the public benefit. It's just become transparent.
Correct.
So Dave's bill didn't go up $500 in 4 months. It's always been that. It's just now he knows where it's going.
That you're correct in that, and whether or not it went up, the two portions that have forced it to go up, and I don't know the exact dollar amount, but one is those that were in hardship cases.
Yep.
That was just extended. It was there, but now you added 2 years of Eversource not being able to collect.
Right.
So go back 2 years. And then the second portion is starting the build out of the infrastructure for the EV cars.
What percentage of the public benefit is the bailout from Millstone?
So it's not a bailout.
It is a bailout.
We actually, this was voted on bipartisanly. Both sides clearly understood what was at risk here.
Right. But my point is, it was a bailout no matter who gave them the bailout. They were going to close their doors if we didn't start buying more from them at a raised rate. It's a bailout. It's no different than I can't pay my mortgage. My bank says.
And that's all relative to the market conditions, whether or not you pay more or you pay less. Sometimes that gas, the supply of gas, and that's another thing that we've shot ourselves in the foot is we've sort of cut off ourselves from expanding gas lines here in the state. But going back to your question, is the market drives all of this, and gas at times is higher than the nuclear. So right now we're in the period of gas is less, so we're paying more.
Henry, can you tell the council what percentage really goes towards bills that haven't been paid?
Probably out of all of these, you're talking about, the public benefit. It's called the Renewable Energy Investment Charge. That's like the business development into clean energy. You're talking about the conservation. You're talking about the rebates for residential as well as business. You're talking about the systems benefit, which is, to your point, Ben, is the hardship protection, right? And the last portion is the PPA, the power purchase agreement. So,
'Cause I thought I read only 20% of all of that goes to public benefit, meaning people in general. All the rest
the
is-
hardship you're talking about?
Yes.
So I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's a smaller portion of all of the entire public benefit portion.
And I don't think anybody objects to helping people out, but when it
Yep.
comes down to paying for all those other things,
Yeah.
I think that's where we get angry.
And that's the
Chairman.
debate.
Mr. Chairman,
Right. Yes.
may I ask a
Yeah.
question?
Go ahead.
I personally don't pay the electric company that we're talking about. I pay a different electric company, and my bill is a lot more reasonable. It's a certain amount. How do I get affected by this?
So is Eversource your supplier for
No,
electricity?
they're not my supplier.
Who's your supplier? Oh, so you're talking, so I see,
Telstar
oh, okay. So you're purchasing the supply side from a different supplier, and Eversource is not a supplier, first of all.
Right.
So you're buying your power from Dominion, you're buying your power from another
Company.
Those of us who use Eversource as sort of the conduit, that we are all buying power from the same grid, first of all.
Yeah.
That power is just generated from different areas of the New England area. Your company that you're purchasing your power from is got into a long-term agreement, and they bought it on the market for X, so they're able to sell it to you for 4 cents a kilowatt hour, compared to Eversource is saying, all right, we're buying it from all over the place, so it's a sort of a blend, and where they're selling it to us through, at 5 cents or whatever it may be. So I think that's what you're talking about, is why Eversource is not a supplier. All they are is they're sort of the administrator of providing you a bill, and they're telling you, here's the supply, this is the cost of the supply. They make no money on the supply. Then there's a transmission, which is basically the whole grid in the New England area and the maintenance of that. And then you've got the public fee, and you've got the delivery. The delivery is Eversource. That is their fee. Now, are they entitled to making sure that their employees get a raise? Absolutely. Are they responsible for taking care of from the substations to our house? That's their job. That's where they do make their money, and they go to Pura to negotiate and ask for, we need to be reimbursed for X, ABC, whatever it may be. And then Pura decides whether or not they're going to give them a raise or they're going to reimburse them.
Mr.
Question?
Chair,
Yeah.
as Senator Martin has acknowledged, this is a very complicated issue. It was pretty widely discussed during the last legislative session, and I know I tried to follow it. And even reading an article about it, you have to really read it pretty carefully to try to understand all the ins and outs about it. And I wouldn't necessarily oppose a resolution, but what I would be concerned about is us taking a stand and endorsing a specific solution or a step, addressing the energy cost overall. I think is something to consider, certainly. But I think we need to be careful because of the complexity of it, and without all becoming, really in-depth experts, endorsing maybe a specific solution or a specific proposed specific bill or anything. But just wanted to say that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Councilman Underwood, I think we have a plan moving forward. Any other questions? We're good?
We're good.
All right, then I guess we'll close other discussions of interest. And for the council, we do have a matter appropriate for executive session. If I could have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
And this is regarding pending claims. And just, Mr. Town Manager, we don't anticipate the council coming out and making any motions after this. So as far as the public portion of the meeting, we're done tonight. But thank you for being here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll give everyone about 5 minutes to get to the back. Everyone have a good week. Thank you for being here.